Oh man, this is some good fabric softener. I love laundry day. Oh, hi everyone. Just folding up my favorite blanket here. Welcome to Peanut Sketch School. My name is Noel and I'm going to be your art teacher. In just a moment, I'm going to show you how to draw, in my opinion, the smartest Peanuts character out there, Linus Van Pelt. Hands down, one of my favorite characters. I really identified with this little guy when I was a young man. Before we get going, just a few little tips to be successful. First and foremost, the best thing about watching a video is you get to work at your own pace. If at any moment you get confused, or if you think I'm drawing too fast for you, you can always pause the video. You can back up and watch a step again if you missed one. Or you could even freeze frame the screen altogether and draw right off of it. The beauty here is you get to work at your own pace. Don't ever stress yourself out during sketch school. This whole thing's about having fun. And also, speaking of fun, I highly recommend you don't do this by yourself. Get a few other people in your family or whoever's with you around you. When we do these sketch schools at our parks, truly the best part of them is at the end of class, we all hold up our drawings and everyone looks around and sees how everyone else did. Nothing like an old-fashioned art show. Now, for today's art project, you are going to need a few simple supplies, and I'm pretty sure you have these things already lying around your house. First off, you're going to need one of these, a pencil. Hands down, the cartoonist's best friend. I recommend a nice soft lead. There'll be a number 2 at the back of your pencil if it's a soft lead, but that doesn't really matter. In fact, you could even use a pencil or a crayon or a pen or markers if you have them. The one thing you won't need is an eraser. We're going to be doing what's called a rough sketch. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the process. The other thing you're going to need, the second best friend of the cartoonist, a sheet of paper. One of my favorite things in the world is a blank piece of paper. You can literally put anything on there you want. Cartooning is awesome. Well, I think that's it. Get comfy, grab your favorite blanket, get a pencil. It's cartoon time! All right, let's get to Linus here, cartoonists. Step number 1, pretty much the same with every Peanuts character. In the center of your paper, lightly sketch in a circle that's about as big as an orange. The first step in the drawing process is to build the main shape. And in this case, it's a circle. And the key word here is build. In fact, if you look at what I'm doing, I'm not writing the letter O. I'm building a circle. I'm using several very light, gentle pencil strokes, and I'm just creating curved lines, which I'm blending together to shape this. So if there's something you don't like about it, don't start over, but instead correct it by just drawing over it. Again, this is just a sketch. If it's too lumpy, smooth it over. If you think the thing's too small, make it bigger. Keep reworking and adjusting things. Treat this like a sculpture. Imagine you're playing with a flat piece of clay. There we go. Look at that. Right in the middle there, Mr. Linus. All right, step number 2. I'm going to add some guidelines. From the top of his head, which will be here, to the bottom, which will be here very lightly, I'm going to add the center line. This tells me this is the front-facing side of this shape. If I had Linus looking that way, for example, I would have drawn that curve over there. I'm also going to go right to left with just one more guideline. We call this the eye line. The character's eyes will rest above this. Now, Linus doesn't really have these lines on his face when you read the comics or watch the cartoons, but as artists, we use these to help us build everything and get it in the right spot. The most important part of this is we now know where the middle of the shape is, and that is where little Linus's nose is going to go. Now, I'm going to have Linus looking that way, so I'm going to point his nose that way, but if you want your Linus to look that way, point the nose over there. His nose is pretty much a bent letter C shape, and it sits right here in the center. Here we go. Cartoonists use the nose on these characters as a pointer. This shows which direction they're looking at in the comic strip and helps focus attention. He's looking over here, wondering if his friend Charlie Brown's going to come see him. Now the next step, I'm going to wake him right up. He's one of my favorite characters. On either side of the nose, just below the top of it, here and here, are where the eyes go. Now the eyes on all Peanuts characters sit in the same place, and a little trick about them, they're not just dots, they're small circles. Think of this as another shape. Really pay attention to this. I think this is the most important part of the character. People always look each other in the eyes when they're communicating with each other. Likewise, when they're reading a comic strip or watching a cartoon on TV, people always look in the character's eyes too. Now, eyes like this are cute, but it's hard to show expressions on them. So Charles Schulz would do one extra step when he drew these eyes on Linus. He would frame them up with a little C-curve. This is where we start looking like one of the Peanuts characters. And these curves are very versatile. They can squash or stretch depending on little Linus's mood. If he gets grumpy, they bend down and give him a frumpy look. Or if he gets scared, they stretch up. Now what's pressing these up or down are going to be the eyebrows. These are going to go directly above the eye on either side. I'll do this one here first. Just above Linus's eye. I'll make a little mark. The trick in eyebrows, gang, they can bend up or down and they can stretch, but they always need to be above the eye. If they drift off to the side a little bit, you're going to lose any chance of an expression. There we go. He's got that, hey, what's going on, Charlie Brown? It's starting to look like Linus. A little bit. I can start to see my friend in here. Now the next thing I'm going to add, this is classically Linus, and only Linus has this feature. He has a little indent on his forehead right up here. I'm not really sure why he has this and none of the other characters do. I like to think of it as his wisdom bump. I'm going to start this just above the eyebrow right here. The first step, I'm going to draw a curved line. We're just going to shave a little bit off of this main circle here. Snip. Imagine you're taking a little bit of clay off of that ball that you sculpted at the very beginning of the lesson. There we go. It's a little indent. In fact, to show you what this is, I'm just going to blend this into the circle. Bring that down. See, there's this cheek. Cute, pudgy cheeks always make for great cartoon kids. There, see, there's this cheek. There's that little indent I was talking about. And this is so important to Linus. Lucy has her hair up here, but here he has a little indent. And to start this, I think this is so important. I'm going to draw a little curve right here. The real big thing is, I don't want this to become a sharp corner. He'll start looking like Frankenlinus. Frankenlinus. And then you just do an indent, just like you did here, but on the top, right over to your middle. This will make more sense in a moment, but right there, Mr. Linus has that little indent. You could call it a forehead ridge. Perfect. He needs his messy hair, he needs his ears, and he needs his smile. Let's add those ears on here next. Now the ears are a lot like this nose. These sit on either side of the head, here and here. And here's a little trick on all Peanuts characters. The bottom of the nose will always line up with the top of the ear. That's where that ear is going to hit, folks. Snap on a C-curve. Think of this like a coffee cup handle right here. There we go. And I'm going to come over here. Do the same thing. See how faces line up. That's the thing as artists we can use to help us build them. Instead of just placing those features on. That's lining up with that. That lines up with that. Oh man, it's starting to look more like Linus. And the last thing before we get that cool little boy here, I'm just going to close up the bottom of the circle here. Starting right here at the base, just follow along your shape. In fact, I'm even going to shave a little bit off of this. In my opinion, Linus is the smartest of all the Peanuts characters. Next to Snoopy, he is definitely Charlie Brown's best friend. He always has wisdom and advice for Charlie Brown when Charlie Brown's feeling down. A perfect quality to have in a best friend. However, as smart as he is, he's the most insecure of the Peanuts gang. He always has to carry around that security blanket. All right, now are you ready to make messy little boy hair? This next step is so fun. Now when Charles Schulz drew Linus, he would just fill this up with a bunch of quick squiggles of his pen. We're going to put a little order to this so that we have some steps to follow. I'm going to start his hair, and think messy hair, okay? I'm going to start just above the ear here. We're going to draw 3 hairs, and I'm going to point these at the ear. Watch this. 1, 2, 3. You bring those in. So we didn't fill in the circle here. We're going to fill this in with his hair up on the top. All right, so we got those 3 hairs coming just around the front of the ear. The next 3 hairs we're going to draw, we're going to frame up this eye right here. Let's start in the same spot. Now watch this. 1, 2, 1 in the middle. Now we're starting to get that messy little boy do. When I was his age, I really didn't comb my hair that much either. All right, now, see, these are coming from the back. These are coming over the side here. These next ones are going to come over the top. We're going to do 3 more starting right here. Watch this, up and over. 1, 2, 3. And the last 2, they stick out the front. And we're going to start on this forehead ridge right here where we left off. Watch this. Whee! Imagine you're going off a ski jump. There we go. A lot of times in the Christmas cartoon, they would just put a hat on them so the cartoonist wouldn't have to draw all this hair. And if your hair doesn't look exactly like my hair, it doesn't matter. Hair moves around as Linus moves around. It's not a solid feature like his ear or, say, his nose. All right, now for the mouth. Now, just like the top of the ears line up with the nose, the bottom of the ears line up where his mouth is going to go. Give myself another guideline right here. Boop. Right across. Now the corners of his mouth, these line up with these little curves that we drew. Remember how we framed his eyes up? Right below there. Boop. Boop. That's where the corners of the mouth go. Now you could give him a big old smile. Oh, you could open his mouth like he's singing or saying something. You could just give him a straight line. That's a neutral mouth, like he's just standing. I'm going to have him smiling. For a smile, always start with these little corners of the mouth with these curves. When you smile, your mouth is pushing your cheeks up. These little creases form. They're kind of like eyebrows for the mouth. They're very expressive. And the smile, just connect these with a bit of a wiggly, uncertain line. All these Peanuts characters have a slight uncertainty about them. They're very young and finding their way. Whoa, look at that, man. We got the head done. And the last step, this is going to make it look like a portrait. Just underneath here, I'm going to draw his neck and his collar. Now the neck, on all Peanuts characters, goes right below the nose. And it's just about as wide as his nose. This is a little tube. Bring these right off of here. They all have a big head and a skinny little neck. Now he wears a t-shirt, a red one with stripes on it. I'm going to close up the collar here with a curve. Then I'm going to bring 2 lines off at an angle. See, that's the opening at the top of the t-shirt. His shoulders would come right off of the sides here. And if you want, you can draw some of those stripes. All the characters have a pattern on their shirt so that you could recognize them instantly in a black and white strip. The comic strip was published in black and white Monday through Friday. And on Sunday, you got the big funnies that were all in color. Hey, look at that. We did it! Oh man, you just drew Linus Van Pelt. Last step here, cartoonists. Sign your name next to your artwork. I think that is so important. You just drew Linus. Oh man, I love Linus. Between you and me, I really do think there is a great pumpkin out there. Well, thanks for drawing with me. Man, that was a lot of fun. I sure hope you guys keep practicing your sketches. I'd love to see them someday. Until next time, stay sketchy.